Previously, on Minecraft 100 days with a certain type only. I will be attempting to survive 100 days in Minecraft Pixelmon with only fairy type Pokemon. And with that, I can now tick one of my challenges off the list, to catch 2 different legendary Pokemon with the fairy typing. Now I have one more task for you. I've heard rumours of a haunted house. I want you to go and check it out. Oh, I think I found it. Finally, I think I found the house that the professor was talking about. Something... What's coming off the painting? What is that noise? Maybe I should head in and check it out. Whoa, what is this? Where am I? What's going on? Spiritomb? Is that you? Where am I? What have you done to me? What? My help? What with? What? Who? Spiritomb, explain yourself! What? Who is? I don't understand. What? Don't trust who? Spiritomb, I don't understand. Spiritomb? Spiritomb? No.
That's Spiritomb. He always has been weak. Trainer, we haven't ever met and won't ever meet until you realise your true potential. Once you discover this, you will find me. Goodbye. For now.
Whoa, that was crazy. I wonder what Spiritomb was trying to tell me. I'm curious though. I want to know what Giratina meant. I guess I better spend the next 100 days looking for ghost-type Pokemon and to figure out my potential to eventually meet Giratina again and figure out exactly what he meant. Now guys, follow me as I spend the next 100 days with only ghost-type Pokemon to figure out exactly what Giratina meant and to uncover the mystery behind Spiritomb. Let's go. After jumping into the server, me and my rival Hawk had a battle. He had a Cyndaquil and I had the Ghastly. Unfortunately, his Ember did so much damage to me, meaning I was defeated for our first rival battle. I then headed over to the dungeon area where I started the beginner's dungeon. After completing all of the quests, I headed out of the dungeon and got myself a player particles, a seasonal key and 2 incense. I then had this weak trainer come up to me to challenge me to a battle, but he was no match for me and my Ghastly. I then headed over to the crate where I opened my seasonal key and got myself a Park Ball. And as it turns out, my rival Hawk also managed to get himself a Park Ball from the crate. I then headed out and found my first raid den, which was a Shieldon, but unfortunately we couldn't defeat it and we lost the den. I then did what we always do every 100 days, which is collect up all the presents in spawn. After getting my shiny key, I got a shiny Pokemon spin, and with that I got a shiny Dragalge. I then caught myself a Mischievous, and then a Phantom as well. After that, I then did some daylight robbery and stole my friend's Eviolite. I then defeated a Sneasel raid den, and then with the Eviolite that I'd gotten recently, I decided that I'd catch myself 2 different Duskulls, as I'd be able to use the Eviolite on one of those when it evolves to a Dusclops. I then also found myself a Galarian Yamask, which I decided to catch as well. And after catching that, I then headed back to the Dark Oak Forest and caught myself a Litwick. My rival Hawk then decided that he wanted to give me a Honedge, so I traded that for a Weedle. And then I defeated a boss Geodude, and with that I got a rare Candy, which I used on my Ghastly to evolve into a Haunter. And after evolving it to a Haunter, I used Trade Sim to evolve it into a Gengar. I then defeated a Sobble raid den, and then I jumped off my giant Dark Oak platform, and unfortunately I fell off the ladder, which meant that I ended up dead and respawned in the spawn. But to my surprise, when I respawned, there was a bunch of diamond tools on the floor. After picking them all up, they all had some pretty good enchantments on them, so I decided to keep them. I then defeated a Primplup raid den, and then my Duskull evolved up into a Dusclops, and my Honedge evolved into a Doublade. I then headed into a boss battle, and after defeating it, I got some pretty decent loot. Luckily though, with the rare candies that I'd gotten, I evolved my Litwick into a Lampent. I then found a Dreepy, which I ended up catching. I then used the Trade Sim command to evolve my Phantup into a Trevenant. After that, a TNT run event started, and you already know I had to enter this one. After entering into the event though, there was only like 7 or 8 people that ended up taking part throughout the entire thing, so it was pretty easy to get good rankings. So for the first match I got 3rd, the second one I got 3rd again, and the last one I came 2nd. With all of my placements I earned a decent amount of crate rewards, and after opening all of them, unfortunately I didn't really get anything very good. I then decided to take part in the active flash hunt, in which I had to find a Larvitar with these exact attributes. After defeating a couple Larvitars and defeating a couple raid dens, I then headed back to the extreme hills to look for what's that noise? I don't feel so good. Oh, whoa. What was that? Some sort of vision or something? I saw a Spiritomb. Anyway, let's continue. I then went to the boss battle and defeated a boss Dragonite. I then caught myself the Larvitar that I was looking for the flash hunt, and I then claimed my rewards from the Dragonite boss. With the rare candies I got from that boss drop, I evolved a Dreepy into a Dracolock. Then me and my rival had a rival battle. Unfortunately though, after a heartfelt battle, I ended up losing. I then spent the next few days travelling through a river as I was looking for a Hisuian Basculin, as I wanted to get myself a Basculegion, but unfortunately I had no luck and didn't end up finding one. I then defeated a few raid dens with a Skiploom, a Linoon, and an Obsidian. I then had a Spleef event start, and luckily there was only 10 people in it, so it was pretty easy to get good placements. I first came 2nd, then I ended up coming 1st, and in the last one I also managed to come 1st. Unfortunately though, after opening all of my crate keys I managed to get from all my rewards, I didn't really get anything good, so I just sped it up. After opening all of my crates, I then continued my journey by defeating as many raid dens as I possibly could. Me and my rival Hawk then went to the team area. We ended up picking Team Relic as it was the spookiest team of the 4, and after that we then went round and found all the presents we could. Finding the team presents is pretty difficult and they're scattered all over the place, so it took quite a while. But eventually, when we finally managed to find the last present, we both got ourselves a shiny key. After heading back to open the shiny key, I was one off a legendary Pokemon. Unfortunately though, I ended up just getting a shiny key. After opening it though, I got a pretty good Pokemon in a shiny Noibat, but unfortunately I wasn't able to use it. I then entered into another TNT run, and my standings for this one weren't too bad. I ended up getting 12th on the first one, and then I came 2nd on the second one, and then unfortunately on the third one I ended up coming 6th. I then decided to buy 2 dust stones off of the shop, as 2 of my Pokemon, including Aegislash and Lampent, will need those evolution stones to evolve. After evolving those 2, I then headed back to the level grinder and ended up evolving my Dragalock into a Dragapult. And after leveling for a couple days, this was my team standings. I then headed out and explored until I finally found a desert temple which I needed to evolve my Yamask into a Runerigus. I then bought a Gengarite and then mega evolved my shiny Gengar, and it looked awesome. I then made my way back into the level grinder as I wanted to level up my new team member Runerigus up to level 100 to match the rest of my team. So I spent the next few days just leveling him as much as I possibly could until eventually he finally managed to hit level 100. And finally, sure enough, after defeating a load of Blissies, I finally managed to get my Runerigus to level 100 to join the rest of my team. I then headed home to explore a little bit more. Oh no, not again.
I need to tell you something. I have someone I would like you to meet. He's mine.
Again? What even was that? These visions, they're starting to get longer. I'm starting to see a bigger picture here. I wonder what Spiritomb really wants me to see. I then continued my journey by heading into a dungeon. After heading in, I had to defeat so many different cool custom textured Pokemon, including Lunalas, Darkrai's, Volcaronas. Eventually, when I managed to get out, I opened up my reward and got myself a Vespiquen plushie. I then headed over to the Psychic Gym, and after heading into the battle, it was pretty difficult, but I actually managed to defeat it, getting myself my first gym badge of the 100 days. I then headed through to the Fire Gym and decided I'd try and take that one on, but unfortunately I was defeated many times in many different gyms, until eventually I managed to take out the normal gym. And then after defeating that one, getting my second gym badge, I got defeated a couple more times by a few different gyms, and then I managed to take out the Fighting Gym, getting me the third gym badge of this 100 days. I then used the money that I'd gotten from all of the gyms I defeated to head onto the GTS and buy myself a Battle Perfect Mimikyu. After adding it onto my team, I then headed straight over to the level grinder to grind up as many levels as I possibly could so that my Mimikyu would be able to get to level 100 to be on par with the rest of my team, to then join my team for the gyms that we had coming up later on. After finally getting my Mimikyu to level 100, it was ready to join my team to defeat as many gyms as we could. But to say that I'd lost to the Dragon Gym a few times was definitely an understatement. I ended up losing to that thing so many times. But eventually, after learning the gym and learning from all of my mistakes that I'd made, I finally managed to prevail in my last turn against the Dragon Gym, defeating it with Mimikyu, getting me my 4th gym badge of this 100 days. I then continued defeating gyms where I managed to take out the Ice Gym. Then I headed through to the Rock Gym, I managed to take that one out as well. And then I managed to also defeat the Water Gym, getting me 7 gym badges for this 100 days. With all of the points I'd collected up from all the gyms, I then spent my raid points on getting myself a Dynamax band, as this would be crucial for the future. I then took the Mimikyu EMZ that we had in our chest and gave that one to Mimikyu. With that, I headed to the Electric Gym and actually managed to defeat it. I then headed over to the Fire Gym and defeated that one too, getting me my shiny legendary, which unfortunately this time was a Manaphy. I then headed to the Bug... Oh no. It's happening again, isn't it?
I need to tell you something. I have someone I would like you to meet. He's mine. Spiritomb, do you know who this devil is? What's going on? Who are you? I am Giratina, ruler of the underworld. Spiritomb, I require assistance. The sudden task. Let's go. Now!
No, I won't come with you again.
What? You dare defy me? The ruler of the underworld? For that you'll pay. Say why to your old and senile training, you fool. Goodbye, old friend. Goodbye, Spiritomb. Forever. You will remain alone and forgotten.
Oh no, that was terrible. I think I've finally figured out what Spiritomb's been trying to tell me this whole time. I better continue my journey though. I then continued attempting to beat as many gyms as possible. Unfortunately though, I did end up losing to a few, but after heading to the Flying Gym, I managed to defeat it, getting me my 10th gym badge. I then headed into a TNT run event, in which I got pretty good placements with 5th, then I came 1st, and then unfortunately I came 6th. I then headed home and decided to start building a base. I wanted to go with a sort of ghostly theme for this one, as obviously we're using ghost type Pokemon. So I decided on making a skull as my base, and after finishing making it up, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I then got super bored and for some reason decided to try and set the Spinnerack on fire. I don't know what I was doing. Me and my rival Hawk then had a bunch of wishing pieces that we wanted to use and defeated so many different raid dens. I then headed through to the Bug Gym, I managed to defeat that. After that, I headed through to the grass gym and defeated that one as well, getting me my 12th gym badge of this 100 days. I then spent the next few days trying my hardest to defeat the poison gym, but I kept getting defeated. My mate then had a Necrozma spawn on him, which he ended up catching. I then continued getting defeated by the poison gym until we started a dungeon. This one was the Hell Ruler dungeon. We had to defeat so many bosses in here, including a pumpkin Gengar which looked so cool. After defeating that, it then Mega Evolved. We then headed through and defeated a Deoxys that looked like Slender Man. Then we defeated a World Eater Snorlax, which had a really cool Halloween texture on it. And finally, we got to the big boss of the dungeon, which was the Hell Ruler Giratina, and he looked so cool. After finally getting out of the dungeon, I opened up my $10 premium key and got myself 300 tokens. I then used those 300 tokens to make my Aegislash shiny. After making him shiny, I opened up my egg, in which I managed to get the World Devourer Snorlax, which was one of the bosses in the dungeon we saw just now. I really liked his skin, but unfortunately, because he's not a ghost type, I'm unable to use him. I then headed to the travel agent where I bought myself an EV training pass. Essentially, in the EV training area, you just get loads of different trainers that will help boost each different stat for all of your Pokemon so you can make them the strongest they possibly can be. Whilst training in the EV area, I then had a parkour race start, so I decided to join in. And eventually, by the end of the event, I managed to get to the top, and by the time I finished, I was actually first place, which was pretty insane because normally in these parkour events, I don't do too well. After finishing the parkour event, I then headed back to the EV training area where I continued to EV train all of my Pokemon. Eventually though, I'd finally managed to EV training all of my Pokemon to the best possible stats, and I was pretty happy with how they'd come out, with all being pretty strong with the perfect movesets that I wanted for each Pokemon. After completing all of my Pokemon and making them battle perfect, I then headed through into my last final dungeon. This time it was a Thief's dungeon. This one took quite a while, and eventually when we managed to get to the throne room, we completed the dungeon. Oh, what's going on? Spiritomb? Is that you? Those voices. What's going on? Is this another dream? Where am I? Oh, Spiritomb, what's happened? Where have I been? What's going on?
Wilson, I'm glad you're back. There's honestly so much you've missed.